Hi, welcome to the Ishara's Reading Podcast, and I'm Ishara. Today we have a very special guest with us, Miss Joy Harjo. She is the 24th Poet Laureate in the U.S. Thank you for joining us, Miss Joy Harjo.
Okay, thank you for inviting me, Ishara. I really enjoyed meeting you in D.C. at the National Book Festival, I guess about a month or so ago.
Thank you. It means so much coming from somebody also from a First Nation people. Miss Joy, you're the first poet laureate I've ever met, and I'm honored to be interviewing you to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day and read your book Remember for my podcast.
Well, I'm really glad to be here. That's right, Indigenous Peoples Day is coming up.
It's on the 9th. It really means so much interviewing you because you're descended from a First Nation people.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Mvskoke Creek Nation, and I live here outside of Tulsa in the Mvskoke Creek Nation Reservation. If I move my camera around, you could see the Arkansas River.
Wow. I will be sure to look into that after this. After we do the recording, maybe you could show me it.
Okay.
Miss Joy, I learned that I am descended from the Arawak, one of the First Nations who lived in South America. What does it mean to you to be the first U.S. Poet Laureate from a First Nations people?
Well, it surprised me, but it means a lot, and I think best of all, it meant a lot for Native people. When it was announced, Native people were celebrating everywhere, and what it did was it highlighted. I thought it was important during my term to highlight there are many Native poets. I'm not the only one. You know, I did a project that highlights 47 Native poets. So it's being the 23rd U.S. Poet Laureate really highlighted the presence of Native people in this country. And because there's still a lot of people who think that there are no natives left or that we're all gone, and our people are still here, we still speak our language, we still, take care of our traditional ways.
So some people think you. The truth is, you're still here.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
you're saying you guys are still here, just you're not heard or seen.
That's true. You don't really see us. I think there's a recent TV show, Reservation Dogs, but for that and a few shows, you mostly don't see natives as human beings or being here now anywhere much at all.
I really feel like this world needs a little bit of a change to see all people from all heritages, no matter what skin, color, or whatever you are.
That's true. All of our stories are important. And sharing stories, that's what I like about your podcast. It's about sharing stories, and I think that's what human beings are put here to do. If you think about it, all the creatures have their jobs and the things they do, and I think we humans, we gather stories.
Miss Joy, speaking of stories, that brings me to my next question. Remember how I asked the question about how some stories are told as legends and others forgotten about, left in the dark?
My question for you, Miss Joy and Miss Michaela, is if all of our stories are important, why are some stories not spoken about and others turn out to be legends?
That's great. I think we're asking ourselves that a lot with all the book bans.
No, that's an excellent question, and as we've been saying this, I thought about that too. There are some stories that are shameful. And you think, well, why do those need to be remembered? Because what happens if you hide something, you think you're hiding something, then it's going to appear Sometimes it can be more dangerous. Those kind of stories can be dangerous. And if they appear just erratically, they can cause a lot of harm. But if you bring them up in a way that there are people who know how to handle them and can bring them up in a way that they can be ultimately helpful and we can learn from them. And yeah, what makes a mythic story? Think about it. That's a question for everyone. What makes a story mythical? It's somebody doing something that seems impossible. And we're all capable of that.
Yeah, that is a very good question. I'm trying to figure out how I can add to that. I think some become legends and others are not held up as important because of who's been able to tell the stories. Right now, we're starting to see that shift a bit more.
That leads into my question. How do we recover these forgotten stories and share them with the world who needs to know that they still exist?
A lot of our grandparents, and if you're lucky to have great-grandparents, and sometimes you can adopt grandparents and great-grandparents, and they have stories. They carry stories, and they carry stories that are important, and you can learn from them. Sometimes I have a lot of children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I've adopted, and they like the stories, and I like hanging out with them, and I like their stories too.
My neighbor is one of my adopted grandparents. They're very nice people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when we speak a story, we give life to it because we're giving breath to it. And we all have, and some of those old stories are the ones that they remind us of our place in the world, and they remind us about how connected we are to the past and even to the future. So, yeah, I think it's, that's important. Sometimes I think some stories are lonely. They're in the dark and they're lonely. And if you're real quiet, you sit real quiet, maybe you have a pen in your hand or maybe you're drawing, and then they'll start peeking out, and then you find them.
So really, these stories aren't forgotten. They're just not seen. They're invisible.
They're still here, but they're waiting for someone to hear them. So they might be invisible, but sometimes things are invisible, but they're there. Think about music.
Oh,
sometimes you can see music. Some people can see it, but it's there, and you play music, and you hear it, and you feel it, but it's invisible.
Miss Joy, I really like the poems you put into this book. What are some of the feelings you felt when you wrote the book Remember, and how have those feelings changed as more and more people came to know your poem and now the book?
That's one of those old poems that I've had around for a long time. It was one of my first poems that I wrote.
Whoa.
And so it's been with me for a long time. It's only recently that it became the book Remember. And so I've lived with it. It's been my companion. It's been my friend for a long time. So I've been real happy about sharing it, especially in a book form with the art by Michaela.
I really love how you rounded everything together, like in a math problem, where you round everything together from the book to Miss Michaela, Goade, and everyone who was included in the story. That leads me into my fourth question. What was the thing that made you want to made you want to work with Miss Michaela to illustrate Remember?
Because I liked her art. When you're doing a children's book, usually you don't get to choose, but I got to choose the artist. And so we looked at a lot of artists' work, but I thought her work would best illustrate it. And just like you were saying about the circle, if you look at the art, she's always circling back. and showing the connection between all life forms. And I think she did a beautiful job of it.
It's beautiful how you're talking about it, which leads me into a follow-up question. What is the circle?
Oh, well, that's my next book. I just wrote, I just wrote a new poem called, what is it? Anyway, I thought I had it here. I might have it here, but it's a longer poem. But yeah, it's called Light Catchers, and it starts, we live in a circle. It begins at sunrise. And this is my next children's book right here.
So the circle has 3 parts: life, love, and family.
Something like that. It's all in that. In this new poem, it's like I have sunrise, then there's the middle of the day, when the light shines. Sunrise, you go out and say thank you. In the middle of the day, you acknowledge that who you are and who you're becoming and how everyone else is in the story and everyone matters, no matter how large or how small. And here's a couple of lines. The world of the fly is no less than your own. The sparrow will tell you, and so will the moon. We live in a circle. The day moves to night. And then we go into sundown and watching sundown and letting things go. And then I'll read the last 2 stanzas. The night will come as it always will. And you're getting this first. Nobody else has heard this. The night will come as it always will, when the story takes a rest and wraps its arms around us. We need the dark for our dreams to root, to face and fight the monsters who scare us, to learn how to call on guardians who save us. You will tell your children, Ishara, how we live in a circle, how at sunrise we will rise up and catch the light, how sundown is a place and time for letting go, how we are the circle, ever moving with light.
Wait, I'm in the poem?
No, I'm just added you as I'm talking with you. And yes, you are.
Thank you. That's amazing.
You will tell your children. That's what I say. You will tell your children. And then I added Ishara. Because we will all tell her. It's something we tell our children. It goes, because you're part of the circle.
Thank you.
Keep going. Yeah, visit. Yeah, visit.
Miss Joy, what are the similarities in traditions between the nations that you and Miss Michaela are from? What traditions are similar and what are different?
Well, that's a big question. There's a lot that's similar and different. But what defines them is where you live. Your culture is going to be very different if you live by the ocean, where her family is, versus where our people, the Mvskoke people, originally from like Alabama, Georgia, and the South, and then we were moved. But we have, our cultures are really based on plants. They're based on weather, and they're based on, climate and water. That really defines culture. Our people are a sun people because we're more south, and her people are water, very much water people.
So, did you both use irrigation and planting?
I don't think they needed irrigation because it rains. Where she's from, it rains a lot. So they don't worry about irrigation. I think, I don't know that in the South that there was some irrigation, I imagine. Not like if you lived in the desert, then irrigation would become crucial.
So, I would have still done irrigation if I were in her tribe because I have no idea what type of pathogens or liquid are in there.
Fish, a lot of fish. Salmon, I love salmon. I like going up there and eating up there. There's a lot of salmon. They're growing. That's farther south. When you get way up into Alaska, the growing season is very, very short because the sun starts, because of the angle, they don't see the sun way, way north for about a month.
Wow.
Very different. Yeah, way up north. I've been way up north where at the midsummer, like June 21st, the sun is out all day. And then in the December 21st, you don't see the sun at all. And then it starts slowly, you start slowly seeing it above the horizon. So your culture is very different when it's like that.
Did you guys see stars?
Yeah, they see the northern lights. I got to see the northern lights once. That's amazing.
Also, about that food, the salmon food, I really like salmon.
What's that?
I like baked salmon.
I do too. That's one of my favorite things to eat. And then they have way up north where they depend on whales.
Huh?
They depend on whales. I've eaten whale before.
Ooh.
Whale blubber. It's actually pretty good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Really?
One time a student of mine came, I was in New Mexico, and she's from Alaska, and she says, I brought you a gift. And she unwrapped and had whale blubber. So I brought some berries, and we laid out a cloth and sat in the hotel room floor and cut up whale blubber and ate blueberries and whale blubber, and that was really good. Yeah.
Is it fried?
Is it what?
Fried.
Yeah, our culture, we fry everything. But no, I'm sure if we had it, we would fry it. But no, it's not fried. It's not cooked.
Ooh.
Actually, I know it doesn't sound good, but it's actually pretty good.
Really?
It is, really. And I'm somebody that likes fried food.
Me too. It tastes really good. Plus, I like the...
Yeah, I know. I'm a crunch person.
And that's what makes me like it.
Some people are cream person. They like real soft, sweet stuff, but I like crunch. Yeah.
I kind of both. Kind of squirmed in the middle.
Yeah.
Miss Joy, I love the eagle poem that it takes form of an eagle. What inspired you to write this poem? Because to me it's so thoughtful, and understanding and true to oneself.
Yeah, that poem, I wrote it because I was with some friends and we did a sweat lodge, which you go in and basically it's about kind of like a sauna, but you do prayers and songs, and the prayers, you think about people and you ask that they're helped and they get spiritual help. And then when we came out of the lodge, the sweat lodge, there were 4 eagles circling over, and that was a good sign. So when I went home, I wrote that poem.
Wow, so it really did have a lot of eagles in it?
What's that? That's why the eagle, I feel like the eagle, well, they certainly inspired the poem.
So that's why you made the eagle poem?
Yes, that's why I made the eagle poem.
I love that you're also a musician. Will you teach me one of the songs from the Mvskoke people?
Let's see. There's one, you can find it on Spotify, that my cousin taught me.
Oh, it's the one with the red bird?
No, it goes, Ale na, Ale na, Ale na, Ale na, Ithlini tukale. And then it goes on. But that's that song. And I told him I needed a song when I travel a lot and go someplace. And he said, well, this is a good one. It's a kind of welcoming song.
Thank you, Miss Joy. Thank you, Miss Joy, for being on my podcast. It means so much to be talking to somebody else who has Indigenous blood in their veins. It means so much to me to be talking to somebody also who is descended from a First Nation people. Thank you. It's so amazing and beautiful. That is so heart-touching.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Shara. I really enjoy being on your podcast and enjoy meeting you. So when my next book comes out, then we can have another podcast.
Yay! Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Joy, for being on my podcast.
Well, I've enjoyed this podcast.
Wow, what a great interview. Stay tuned because I'm going to be reading a book, Remember, written by Miss Joy Harjo and illustrated by Miss Michaela Goade. Open up the book, you see this very beautiful illustration. Miss Michaela did a very good job on this. Remember the sky you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Wait, the moon's a she? Very interesting depiction. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth. Know your mother struggled to give you form and breath. Your evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth, whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origins of the universe. Whoa, I did not know that. I'm gonna have to remember that. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember. This book may be a little short, but it has so many big feelings. The art, the illustrations, the writing. It is all so interesting. When you're a kid, you're asked to remember a lot of things, like remember your homework, remember your chores, remember this, that, even brushing your teeth. And when you're a kid, it just feels so bad when you forget. You feel horrible. Remembering feels like a chore, something you have to do. But this book makes it more simple, untangles that web that has 23 knots in it. Remembering, to me, it is a good thing to do because you have to remember some things in your life. Well, if remember didn't exist, not the book, but the word, the meaning, well, you'll spend every day forgetting. But it's kind of like yin and yang. One can't exist without the other. So forgetting would even exist. So kind of a world without it's kind of a world without not knowing or not even remembering. So remembering and forgetting is kind of like, how can I put this? Yin and yang. One can't exist without the other, but the other can't exist without the other. Or there will be no balance. So it's like yin and yang. Remembering is yin. Forgetting is yang. One has to go with the other in the right circuitry. Without remembering, you would not understand things. Your brain would be in chaos. Literally. Jesus, the meaning of remembering. So now with the new understanding, it makes it easier to dream. It makes it easier to just dream. Go to think about places you would remember for your whole life. And even far before. You would dream, wonder. Remembering helps us do so much. And it matters if we remember. So it's so important to remember. That's why I love this book. And it is like something untangling all those knots. It just untangles and untwists everything. It makes everything more simple, really. That's why this book is really important. Make it simple to find your place in this world which needs people, kids, everyone like you. Make this circle whole again. Remember to be yourself, even in the most difficult times. In the Bible, in the story of Daniel and Joseph, there are similarities. They had to be themselves, pray to the Lord, which is the symmetry between everything in the Bible, praying in this world. In the story of Daniel, Daniel was thrown to the lions, but Daniel stayed strong and saved himself and prayed. Daniel remembered to be himself. Don't hide, run away, maybe even go to another kingdom. He stayed and remembered to be himself, and he fought and he won. He fought and won that day, so everybody would believe in his God. So, be like Daniel. Remember. Don't forget to like, review, download, and smash that subscribe button. Thank you. Bye-bye.